Hi everyone and welcome to another edition of City Spotlight. I'm your host Pablo Pereira. It's another hot, dry summer here in Calabasas. And as far as rain goes, the past couple of rainfall seasons, well, we did a little historical look. And when you take the last two rainfall seasons, combine them, maybe the driest ever on record since the National Weather Service started keeping records back in the late 1800s. That, of course, means two things: high fire danger and lack of water. Unfortunately, yes, we are once again in a drought. So what are some ways that you can help conserve water during this very important time? Well, we're back with our friends here at the Las Virgenes Municipal Water District for some answers. Let's go inside and check it out. All right, we're joined now by David Peterson. He's the general manager of the Las Virgenes Municipal Water District. Fairly new to the job, has been on it since January of 2013, I believe. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Welcome to be talking about a subject that you don't necessarily want to talk about, but you feel is important to talk about, and a lot of news and information about the drought this year. A lot of people have heard this before, but here we go again. What can you tell us?
Sure, this is the nature of water in California. We go through these periods of drought. We're experiencing right now record low rainfall and some of the most severe dry period since records have been kept in the late 1800s. So it's a serious time. It's an important time for us in the water business and the community at large to really focus on how we use water and to use it more efficiently.
Let's get right to the meat and potatoes of this. The state just recently, in fact, I believe today, has implemented some new water rationing policies that whether you wanted to or not, you have to enforce. And tell us specifically what those are.
Sure. The state took action, which is somewhat unusual, although it was following governor's emergency proclamation. And so the state has issued new regulations related to urban water use to effectively reduce demands. And so there's two varieties of restrictions on water use that are being instituted. Fortunately here we have most of them in place already. The first part of it really has to do with wasteful use of water and preventing that. And so there's a variety of measures that are aimed to prevent things like using water in such a way that it runs off onto hard surfaces, that it's not reaching the landscaped area. Other measures using water to wash cars without a shut-off nozzle like the one that we have here. Mm-hmm. Other measures include washing down of hardscapes, sidewalks, and driveways with water, again, being prohibited. The state also established some penalties for those types of uses, and those penalties can increase up to $500. So these are measures that most of us in the business are familiar with. We actually have had these in place since the previous drought, along with a few additional measures. So we really have already covered those items. One of the other things we have done here is we do not allow irrigation between the hours of 10 and 4, which are the hottest times of the day, and a lot of the irrigation water then is lost to evaporation. So we anticipated some of these things coming. The second part of the regulation has more to do with water districts restricting outdoor irrigation. So one of the big focuses now is going to be how folks use water outdoors. Many of the measures on reducing usage indoors have really taken hold in California and Southern California especially, but outdoors is really where the opportunity is to do more. And so those regulations have to do with things like the number of days per week that you can water, with the state looking at 2 days a week as sort of a benchmark in an acceptable use of water outdoors.
So to clarify that then, what is the rule, what is the restriction on watering outdoors lawns as of today, right now?
So right now, the actual regulation as it's written, it recognizes that local agencies and water districts are in the best position to set those requirements. And so most water districts, including Las Virgenes, have what's called a water shortage contingency plan. And so the regulation effectively requires those agencies to implement them to such a level that there is some restriction on outdoor water usage.
What is the restriction?
So today the restrictions are no outdoor watering between 10 and 4, no use of water, 10 and 5 is what I mean. So 10 and 5, no use of water for washing down of hardscapes, driveways, sidewalks, and the like. Water needs to be used for washing of a car with a shut-off nozzle. Also that water can't run off onto your sidewalk, adjacent properties, streets, gutters, that kind of thing.
And what types of penalties do people face if they don't abide by your rules?
So currently our penalties, it's sort of a tiered or progressive type penalty. The first step is a warning. We issue a warning letter, mostly to let the customer know about the situation and give them a chance to correct it. And generally we find that works. Then progressing from there, we have a $50 penalty initially. It goes to $100, and from $100 to $250 eventually. Generally, as I said, we find that the warnings are effective. We follow up on them, and folks want to do the right thing. Generally, what we find is people don't know. They may have a broken sprinkler head. They may have a problem. They may just not know about the conditions in the state and the regulations regarding wasteful water use.
So for people who don't know and who are in your district, which is pretty much everyone in Calabasas, where does our water come from and where do we store it?
So our water, our drinking water, comes 100% from imported sources. Because of where we're located, our water comes for drinking purposes from the State Water Project. We purchase it from Metropolitan Water District, which is the major wholesale agency in Southern California. We're fortunate here that we do have an expansive recycled water system. The district invested early on in recycling, and we meet actually 20% of our overall water demands with recycled water, so highly treated wastewater.
So nobody gets a little queasy about it. This treated wastewater is not in the drinking water system.
Not right now, no. Although there are...
Where does that water go?
Right now that water is being used for irrigation purposes. So we see it in our green belts, our parks, our golf courses, common areas in the HOAs are generally all using recycled water.
So why can't I get that at my home right now?
Right now for residential homes, we have some challenges in providing recycled water. But there's a lot happening in the recycled water industry to get over some of those hurdles. But regulatory challenges are among them. And one of the key issues is when you have recycled water along with potable water or drinking water, there's a whole variety of measures that need to be taken to ensure that you don't have a cross connection between the two systems where the water would mix. And so that's really the challenge with the residential property. You have normally a higher risk of those cross connections occurring.
This past year wasn't the driest year on record, but the last 2 years combined were the two driest combined years since they started keeping records back in the late 1800s. If in fact that's true, why aren't we taking more concrete, hardcore steps now with water? I'm not...
Well, I think we're getting there. In fact, I think we are there now. It's beginning to happen. You're starting to see throughout the state, beginning with the governor's emergency proclamation in January, and that trickling down the State Water Resource Control Board establishing these emergency regulations. And then we're proposing to be talking with our board. We have an elected 5-member board about setting some more stringent outdoor water use regulations ourselves. What we're considering is potentially 3 days a week, setting 3 days a week as the allowable outdoor irrigation schedule.
Would it be 3 days a week for the same 3 days for everybody? Is that?
Probably not, and there's a variety of ways to implement that. So we'll be looking at that. We're still studying it, but some of the models that have been used elsewhere is the odd and even days and that kind of thing. So I think people are getting serious about it, but you make a good point that we're seeing that it's taking some time to really ramp up, and I think we need to be a little bit mindful of that in the future, that we need to take action quickly. One of the advantages that we have with this drought as compared to previous droughts is that we came into this drought with quite a bit of storage, water storage, and we're very fortunate for that. Southern California, we had over 2 million acre feet as a whole in storage with Metropolitan Water District, and that's in a variety of reservoirs, including their new Diamond Valley Reservoir. So we had water in reserves. This water was placed there for this very purpose, to get us through dry periods, but we need to be mindful that that water is limited and that we can only draw on those reserves for a limited time.
Where are we now? This is an absolutely beautiful location that, as a Calabasas resident, I didn't know existed. I know we're a little bit further up the 101 here, but where are we and what is this?
We're physically located in the city of Westlake Village, and this is the Las Verdenes Reservoir. The district built this facility back in 1974, and it provides emergency and seasonal storage for water supply for our customers.
Let's get down to the serious business here. This rainfall season, 2006-2007, will go down as the driest ever on record here in Southern California. Just over 3 inches of rain, should have about 15-16 inches of rain. Statewide, we're seeing rainfall rates down throughout the state right now. So the question is, are we in a drought yet or not?
Well, we seem to be heading in that direction. We're certainly not in a full declared drought at this point, but we have seen substantially less rainfall than we normally see in this region. We're 29% of normal. We are drawing more on storage around the state. And if this trend does continue, we are going to be in a much more of a severe drought condition, and we're probably going to have to be asking our customers to certainly conserve more than they've been conserving to date.
All right, we're here with Scott Harris. He is the Water Conservation Coordinator for the Las Verdenes Municipal Water District. Welcome.
Thank you.
You and I have spent time together before, unfortunately, and I only say it unfortunately, not because I don't like you, but the last time we were together, we were talking about this same issue.
We were.
Scott Harris is really the expert on all of this for the Las Verdenes Water District, and it's kind of your job today to help the citizens in our area to cut their water use by 10%. So how are we going to start to do that? First of all, why don't you show me your little demonstration here and what this entails? This is what most people have in their home, or a variation of that, right?
This is typical of what most of us have, and this is a standard dumb controller, we'll call it. We tell it when to water, which days, how long, and what time to come on.
So it's not really that dumb. It does what it's supposed to.
It does exactly what it's supposed to do. The problem is that the weather changes and we don't always remember to go out to our controller. It might be summertime when we set this, and as we move into the fall, well gosh, temperatures are still high. It still feels warm, but what we're not realizing is the day length is decreasing. Daylight is getting shorter every day. The plants are photosynthesizing less. They need less water. And if we don't go out here and change this, then we're wasting water. Yeah. This one monitors weather for us. What we're going to do with this one is we're going to tell it where we live, the zip code. We're going to tell it what kind of sprinklers are used in the different areas throughout our landscape, maybe the rotor heads on our back slope and maybe the pop-up spray heads on our lawn, what kind of plant material is being irrigated, what kind of soil type we have, and then the controller's going to make the decision as to whether or not to water. We still tell it what time to come on. We also tell it what days not to water. Maybe we do our gardening on Wednesdays, so we want it not to come on Wednesdays or never on New Year's Day.
But it's really using the weather outside as a gauge as to how much or how little water we need.
It is.
You see the world differently than the rest of us, I think. I mean, I wear prescription glasses. Some people wear sunglasses. You look at the world with an eye on conservation. How is that different in your daily being and going about things?
Well, I think that's true of everyone, depending upon what we're close to. That's where our focus is. And because I've been with the Water District for a good amount of time and worked in landscaping before that, water is just at the forefront of my consciousness, yes.
When we were talking to folks here earlier, we were advised that you have this type of program where people can take out their lawns. What do you call it?
Well, our turf removal program we call Mow, No Mow.
And he was saying this is a very popular program. Tell me about it.
It is a popular program, and currently we offer $2 per square foot for removal of turf grass in your front yard, your backyard, your side yards, and then replacement of that turf grass with climate appropriate plantings. California friendly, drought tolerant, a lot of different terminology that's thrown around, but it's those are plants that are appropriate for this climate.
And how popular has that program been when was it implemented and how popular?
Actually, we've run this program on and off for 2 or 2.5 years, and it was a little bit of a slow start. But since we were able to secure more funding back at the beginning of this year, it's become really popular and it's gaining in momentum.
What does it do for people?
What does it do? It allows them to take better control, I believe, of their water budget, their water expenditures. It allows them to create a beautiful landscape that they may have always thought that they might like to have, but weren't maybe actually in a financial position to do so. We will assist them. $2 again per square foot. If you have 1,000 square feet of grass in your front yard, that's $2,000 to take that out and re-landscape. And there are plenty of people within our service area that have been able to complete that re-landscaping project for that amount of money.
And if you take out a lawn, I know you can't give me specifics because everybody's lawn maybe is a different size, but percentage-wise, about how much water do you save by just removing a lawn?
Right. Well, what I can tell you is that on average, over the course of a year, 70% of our water is used outside. So you can do the math when you look at your own bill and figure out what the savings are. Now, turf grass is the thirstiest plant material that we can put in our landscape. And if you were to switch from turf grass to native plantings, which are the least water using, you could go from, you could save, what, 80, probably 70% of that 70%. Whatever that math works out to be.
Right. So it's substantial. You got some toys here on the table here. I imagine of all of these things, you have the biggest love-hate relationship with the sprinkler head, don't you?
I'd say that's an accurate statement, yes.
Why is that?
Well, because these can pretty much make you or break you in your landscape. And it's not actually the sprinkler head, but it's the nozzle itself. Newer technology is a lot better than what we had even 10 years ago. And that's because new sprinkler nozzles apply water more evenly across the landscape, and that's what landscape water use is all about.
Does that just pop onto the old one?
It does, actually, right.
So what do we have here? Tell me.
This is a typical 4-inch pop-up spray head, spray nozzle, and what you can do is just remove that nozzle and the screen and replace it with another high-efficiency nozzle that has an integral screen to it, and it's that easy.
So what did we just do by doing that?
What we did was we improved our distribution uniformity, the uniformity of the water across our landscape tremendously, actually, and that means that you can now reduce the amount of water that you put on your landscape, and this is why. If you're spraying water across your lawn and it's not evenly distributed, you have wet spots and you have dry spots. So the first thing that we think is, it's dry over here, I'm going to turn up the time on my irrigation controller. Well, and we do so, and that brown spot becomes green, and then that green spot is now overwatered. So by making simple changes like this and improving that uniformity.
So that nozzle is not distributing less water, it's distributing water more evenly. Is that correct?
It's hard to make broad statements like that. In some cases, it does put out less water. In other cases, it just puts it out more uniformly. So either more uniformly at the same rate or more uniformly at a lower rate.
I mean, because water's coming out of there at a certain rate, to my understanding, nozzles are kind of, they assign it some sort of code or number or something, right?
Sure.
Is that actually going to save me water by putting that on?
It has the potential to do so. The nozzle will do that.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Of course, there's the human component, the management component.
Understood. And for the management component, I think something we looked at before, and it's kind of new old technology, but this is a typical irrigation timer that people have in their homes. Not typical, this one looks a little more confusing, but I think that this is one that more people should consider because this attaches to this device. What is this?
This is an example of a weather-based irrigation controller and a sensor that is associated with these. A weather-based irrigation controller makes its own changes. You set it up, you program it once, maybe twice, because it's always good to go back and recheck what you've programmed. But you program it, and then the sensor takes over. So as the weather gets hotter, as we move into the summer months, the irrigation schedule increases. As the weather cools down, as day length gets shorter, the irrigation schedule is reduced, and there's less water put out in the landscape.
So that's something that you can get a rebate for.
You can. Currently, the rebate is $80, and there are a wide variety. There's so many different controllers.
I like that one. It looks easier to use.
Well, you know what?
I'm just saying. I mean, look, I'm somewhat technologically savvy, but you give me a lot of buttons and a lot of turns, that one just looks easy.
Sure, and that's very important. There's a long list of irrigation controllers, smart controllers that qualify for the rebate, and there's every different make, model, and feature on them, so I'm sure you can find something that works best for you.
I didn't see this last time. This is a precision soil sensor by Toro. We'll give them credit for that, but what do I do with this thing?
Well, this is just another way to go about cracking that same nut of irrigation water efficiency and putting the right amount of water down in your landscape. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to...
Well, how's that work?
Well, I'll tell you, the way that this works is it measures water in the soil. Okay. And then when that amount of water is used by the plant material or lost to evaporation, the sensor knows that, and it will tell the controller it's okay to irrigate again. If we have a little bit of a rain event, and it's been some time since the controller's watered, well, this will tell the controller, no, it's not time to water again, because there's still moisture in the soil.
So that hooks up to your controller box?
Hooks up to a controller, either a smart controller or a dumb controller, if you want to call that. This will make it smart.
All right, maybe out of what I would consider doing. Somebody might do it, but let's put that down and
Sure.
Let's get to the good stuff. And what I think is the good stuff is, I mean, do they make shower heads anymore that don't give you a lousy shower? I mean, you know what I mean? I mean, these shower heads to me are very, you're not getting much pressure out of them. I mean, we all know you should replace your shower heads. You go to the hotel, you get under these showers, they do nothing for you. They don't wake you up. Maybe I'm being a little tough on them, but I mean, has technology improved where I can save water and get a good shower?
It has. And where can you get a good shower head that will give you a good shower? Right here. You were holding one in your hand, and I am now. And we have these here at Las Virgenes Water District, and we're happy to hand these out to any customers that come in to get one.
Why is that better?
I think like toilets, like clothes washers, like sprinkler heads, industry has responded to what people need. And we need appliances and fixtures that do as good a job as they have always done, but with less water.
This year, we've seen record dry conditions out there for the most part here in Southern California, and this district certainly affected as well. But what's somewhat interesting is you told me that this district was actually formed as the result of a drought a number of years ago.
Yeah, Pablo, that's correct, actually. The district was formed here on this timeline, here and in back of me in the 1950s and the late 50s and the 60s. There's a very large drought in this area, a local drought. There was no imported water. Citizens here had to make a choice. They could annex to the city of Los Angeles, or they could form their own water district, and that's how it happened. It was precipitated, no pun intended, by a very large drought that happened in the 50s.
Well, that's going to do it for this edition of City Spotlight. We hope you've enjoyed the program. More importantly, we hope you've learned the importance of learning to conserve water right now before it becomes mandatory in our very near future. For more tips, rebate information available to you, log on to our website, cityofcalabasas.com. I'm Pablo Pereira. Thanks for joining us.